Hang on one
There we
second.
go.
I'm gonna take us into, oh God. I'm gonna take us into Facebook now, okay?
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Wasn't letting me log in. Okay.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
My tummy is a problem today, but other than that, I'm fantastic.
Well, you look amazing.
Oh, dude, I didn't put any eyebrows on. My hair is like 6 days old. Like that's
That is how I looked with 6-day-old hair, no eyebrows. I consider myself lucky.
okay. Let's get into Facebook. Give me 1 second. In my group. Okay, we're going live. You ready?
Awesome.
Okay, here we go. Good morning, Erica. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. It's awesome to see you again.
Wonderful to see you.
So we're in here today. I have Erika in here with me. Erika is one of our Strip Down alumni. She's done the online class as well as the in-person workshop. And I wanted to bring Erika in because I like checking in with my students and seeing how they're doing. But I also want to give you guys an insight from a student perspective on what it's like to take Strip Down, how she's doing, what she's learned, how she's made it her own. That's really important to me because the education that I teach is very much unlike the education in the rest of the industry. It's definitely not a do as I do. It's giving you the skills and the tools that you need to build the type of business, the type of experience, the type of work that's truly yours, that you get to own and exceed and excel with, thrive with. Basically, that's what I want for all of my students. So we brought Erika in this morning. And again, good morning, my love. I really appreciate you being here. And on behalf of everybody else that's here, also, thank you for taking the time to do that. So I want to start by asking you a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times I don't get to ask these questions to you guys in class or even in your intake. Some of these things we don't necessarily ask. So I'm curious about some of them as well. And I'm wondering, like, why is it that you shoot boudoir photography of like all the genres that you can shoot? Why boudoir photography, and do you shoot other genres as well?
Yeah. So actually kind of my introduction into boudoir photography, before I worked where I work now, I photographed primarily corporate work. Like I was a very, very corporate photographer. I've met lots of famous people, so I have that to those bragging rights, but it didn't really get to flex my creative muscles. And I got to do it a little bit with weddings and stuff. But the more I was seeing the world of boudoir photography blossom, the more it was intriguing to me because it was intriguing because I had wanted to see myself that way. But it never even dawned on me to have the bravery to do it myself. So I was like, well, if I can live vicariously through other women that might have more bravery than I to do something like that. So I had started kind of dipping my toes in with photographing people that I knew, like my sisters. I've have a couple years on my sisters, so like 8 and 13 years, not a couple. So I've been photographing them since I was like really little, and they were little. So I got to practice a little bit there. But then I had this idea to bring a bunch of women together and do basically this group experience where me and another photographer came together, and we called it She Shines, and it was all about bringing women together, and everyone would have their turn to have their hair and makeup done, and with the first person that was done their hair and makeup, we'd take them in this beautiful hotel and photograph them in these different rooms. But what was beautiful about it is this common space where they were getting their hair and makeup done, having champagne and snacks, and just everyone empowering each other. And I just wanted to create this space that everyone felt accepted, everyone felt loved, everyone felt seen and heard and just empowered. And that's kind of where it blossomed. So I took that idea. I'm not much of a business person, which is why I thrive when I work for someone else, because then I can do the things that I actually like to do. So I wasn't able to get a lot of movement with that idea. And then I started working for who I work for now, Mike Alabach, who is like #1 in the country for couples boudoir. So I came on board because he needed a studio manager. So I knew it would take me a little bit to be able to pick up a camera, but now I'm his primary solo boudoir photographer. And it has been an incredibly empowering experience for myself. Like, I've now been photographed 3 times by him just to feel what I'm kind of the experience that I'm giving to the clients. And so it turned into this incredibly rewarding, therapeutic, transformational, transcendent thing that I now do. I had no idea that this love of photography that I've had since I was like 8 years old would turn into this incredibly rewarding experience that it is now. And I owe so much of that to Strip Down, a lot of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What a journey. And it's really funny. One of my first forays into boudoir photography myself was very similar to what you experienced. One of my best girlfriends every year, she'd have this big, huge slumber party. And she's got this gorgeous, mansion up in the Aptos Hills, Santa Cruz Hills, basically. And she would bring together, there'd be like 50 of us at these slumber parties. And it would be like, show up at 10 o'clock in the morning and drag yourself out of there at 10 o'clock the next morning, right? All the fun. And I had the camera and I was like, well, why don't we do that? Because every year we would also have like an activity. It would be either like a belly dancing class, or one year we had a male stripper show up. We had a tarot card reader come in. Like, we did salsa dancing one time. It would just be some kind of fun activity,
so nice.
And I was like, let me try this. Let me do these shoots. And it was awesome. I kind of fell in love with it then too. Like, watching all of these girls go through that experience that day. I think I shot like 25 women or something bonkers like that day. But it was great. I had so much fun. It was totally fun. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, I think this niche in portrait photography is one that I really like. I didn't let go of weddings, obviously, and I didn't let go of portraits because I love those spaces as well. But I was like, I'm definitely going to add this. This is a lot of fun. So I think a lot of us kind of had that experience coming into boudoir photography. It's something that we wanted to experience ourselves. We were perhaps a little bit too nervous to like be open and vulnerable and do that. And I think a lot of us are kind of in that space now. We do kind of like try and provide these experiences for our clients because they're what we want. And maybe we're not ready to be there and to let go. Yeah. And so we try and do that for our clients. Yeah. It's interesting, the psychology behind why we do what we do. And it's interesting how much Strip Down actually changes that. I'm constantly talking about how, if you take this course, it's not just going to change your work, it's totally going to change your life. And everybody's like, yeah, okay. Sure. Okay. And you sign up for the class and you're like, yeah, she said that. But, and then you get into class and you're like, whoa, like everything's
so true. It's so
what
true.
the hell just happened, right? So I think it's so good for professional development. But before, it's like that old adage, like, you can't take care of others unless you take care of yourself. Excuse me, unless you take care of yourself first. And that is so huge with boudoir photography. And I don't know that necessarily means you have to have a session, But I
Yeah.
do know that it means you really do have to learn how to get in touch with a lot of the internal things that we hope to capture as boudoir photographers, and we try and do it with, buying posing guides and like using prompt cards and all of these things that never really quite get us there, and we end up with like, just pretty pictures.
And that's the thing about strip down is like, as long as you're committed to the work, like you, it just happens on its own. It's just the nature of the methodology. Like you're not going to not get in touch with those parts of yourself as long as you're committed to the work. It's just
It's
how
impossible,
it's
right? It's
impossible. Yeah.
impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible. It's impossible not to have like tremendous personal growth in this
Yeah.
course if
Mhm.
you're doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, I mean, it's so hard for me to articulate to people. Like if I could easily like snap my finger, right? And like
Yeah.
kind of just lay out all of the things. 'Cause I'm fairly articulate. I'm good at expressing things, but it's real hard. It's hard. It's such a robust, in-depth, um, multifaceted program that it's hard to really get it all out there. And
Yeah.
even when people do sign up for it, they're still like, once they get in, they're like, whoa, wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it to be like this much value, this much content, like this much growth in all of the areas. So I know that that's a struggle of mine, trying to express all of that to everyone. And again, I wish I could just bottle the feeling and give everybody a little taste of it, because I fully believe that every single photographer who shoots people, I don't care if it's
Yeah.
boudoir, weddings, portraits, so long as you're coaching someone, you should take strip down. Like I wouldn't be teaching it if I didn't believe everybody should take it. So what made you decide to join strip down? What was it that you were like, well, I think I'm going to give this a go?
Yeah, so because I had started to photograph more boudoir for Mike, who I work for, I wanted so badly to have the women leaving the space feeling um not just that they have these pictures where they look good in them. Like I wanted them to walk away to be able to carry that feeling with them, every day. Right. And I was like, I don't know how to take myself there. And it was actually Mike who had followed you. And he was like, well, I've heard about this Denise and how like how transformational, her classes, like, why don't you look into it? So I did. And I was just like, wow, this definitely seems like a way for me to connect with my clients more, because I have incredible conversations with them on the phone, right? And then we have these beautiful, like vulnerable, conversations about what this experience is going to mean to them. And then I felt like I was losing a little bit of that because I was so focused on posing them for their body as opposed to bringing out all that beautiful stuff inside of them that's important to them. So I wasn't bridging that those two pieces. And strip down, it had already started with the online course. I saw a difference in my work. And then doing the in-person, I mean, that just, like I said, it was just like everything came together like this big, massive puzzle. And I could stand above it and be like, oh my God, this is it. But that was the piece that was missing, is bridging the gap between the incredible vulnerable conversation I have with them on the phone and being able to have all of that magic that they want to feel, that they see in themselves so rarely, like carry with them once they leave here, and they can hold on to it, not just when they look at their photos and their artwork that they purchase, like that it's just with them. And that's what strip down did for me.
You know what I think is, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to be part of that journey with you. Like I'm very humbled and honored that Mike followed me. I mean, he's amazing. I'm really, really grateful that he sent you my way. And I'm also very humbled that you trusted me and that you allowed me to go on this journey with you. What I think is very interesting, something you said in there is, I think that we all believe, I mean, none of us come into this genre. Like we talked about before, we all have a reason we're doing this. We definitely have our why. And even if
Yeah.
it's because, you know, even if our biggest why is that we want to have an entrepreneurial business that's creative, that we enjoy, and we make good money from it. Because there are a lot of us out there who our primary focus is like making a good living. And there is nothing wrong with that. But there's a secondary reason if you're shooting boudoir, for
Yeah.
sure. Like for
Yeah.
sure. There's
Yeah.
something in there that you're trying to do. And I think so many of us think that we are doing it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We before you hit strip down, you think you're doing those things. You think you're empowering women. You think you're bringing them all of it. Like, and then once you've been shooting for a while, you get like these little glimpses because you start feeling like there's something missing. There's something I could do more. There's something, and it's almost like this intangible that you just can't put your finger on. And I
Yeah.
think it manifests in like when you look at photographers' work who are shooting emotive work that's beautiful, you see that and you're like, I want to do that, right? But that manifestation is actually from the way that we work with our clients in the studio. So those
Yeah.
really emotive, beautiful pictures we see that we're like, we want to create that. It just doesn't come from a posing guide. It doesn't come from years of being experienced in this genre. It comes from doing some really deep excavation and work and figuring out how to truly like you said, not just shoot their bodies, but
Yeah.
actually learn how to bring all of the beautiful things that are inside of them out
Yeah.
that they never get the opportunity to see, and
Yeah.
show them how gorgeous they are when they're experiencing pleasure or longing or desire or any
Yeah.
of the things that we learn how to do and strip down, and how we learn how to embody them ourselves so that we can coach and direct our clients for them. I think that's the piece that gets so convoluted in this, where people get lost in it. They think it can come from somewhere else, but the only place it can
Yeah.
come from is in
And
here.
there, and the transformation, like something you said, just it popped into my head, is the reaction that I got in their reveal went from I look to I feel when they were seeing their photos. And
Yeah,
that was huge. Like it sounds so simple, but that was
it's not.
everything.
Yeah, it
You know,
really
because it
is.
wasn't just like, oh my God, I look not like I think I look. It's I feel amazing.
Yeah,
And that small difference was massive.
yeah,
Massive.
yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a semantic, but there's a whole world
Yep.
between those two
Yeah.
different like semantics, right? There's a whole world between those two different definitions. It really is incredibly transformative. So do you feel like that strip down gave you the tools to evolve in your work as an
Oh,
artist? I mean, it sounds like it, but
not even a question.
yeah.
Not even a question. I had to I was able to squeeze in going to the in-person one, to the point that I did have to, you remember, I had to leave
Oh, that
early. So
early.
I
Yeah.
still got everything out of it. That's not even, I just didn't get my big giant goodbye that I wanted, because I felt so
Oh,
connected to everybody that I just, that anyway, left there, went right to the airport, and I was editing the work, culling and processing the work that we did there. But I had a session the very next day, and I could not wait to put it into practice. But I did get a little bit nervous because I was like, Denise isn't here to like guide me, and I don't have this like incredible group of supportive people behind me, and I'm, Mike is going to see me like like I'm going to seem like a totally different person. Like all this stuff is going through my mind, and I was just like, but I couldn't wait. And the person that was coming in, she was an old client. She has, she's been in therapy working on her body image issues, and this was an incredibly important session for her. So I couldn't have been a more perfect person to put this stuff into practice. And I mean, I was like, how was I doing this before? Like, I don't even remember how I was able to to function as a photographer without this methodology, because it was that transformational and powerful for me and for her. I mean, her testimonial, like the words she had to say from that experience just blew me away. You know, I knew how I felt, but getting to hear from them, which is kind of like, you know, you getting to hear from me, it's hard to put into words what you do. And it's nice to have it reflected back. Um,
Yeah.
but she said that she felt like I like metaphorically sat down with her and brick by brick took down this huge wall that she had built around herself and the way that she viewed her body and the way that she even let other people in, let compliments in, let love come in. Like she and I broke it down brick by brick, as she said. And I
And
was
have
so
you,
floored by that visual like therapy that we did together that day.
that's amazing. Had you shot her prior to that? Was she a repeat? So this was
She
her
was a
first
repeat for Mike, not for me.
time? Okay.
So, this
Okay.
was the first time I met her, but I knew her because she's in our Facebook group.
Right. It's
Yeah.
interesting. One of your peers, Betsy McHugh, I don't think she was at the same workshop as you, but Betsy, one of her clients actually sent me a message,
Oh,
which was right. I've never experienced anything like that before. But she was talking about, we were together talking about, the course and her transformation. And one of her clients saw it and then sent me a message and said, I've shot with her before and I've shot with her since taking your class. And it is night and day. And I have to tell you, you're not just changing the lives of your students, you're changing the lives of every single woman and person they shoot with after you. And please don't ever stop what you're doing, because my experience with her after was phenomenal. So let's talk about that for a second. Have you worked with repeat clients and on this at all? Have you had any clients that have come in like before you did strip down or after? Like a before and after? And if not, that's okay. But I'm just curious if
I'm not sure. Um,
when you
for
do,
sure. Yeah.
and you
I'm
do
kind of
let me
excited
know,
for
because
that. Yeah.
I'm going to be curious to like as what they have to say about
Yeah. I will
the
say what
experience
happened.
before.
What happened that was pretty cool is I wanted to continue practicing, but I think it's important to be able to photograph men too. So I actually got to practice putting some of this stuff um, into photographing men. So I photographed Mike, and he had never been photographed by me that way. So that was really really transformational for him as well as me to be able to put all this stuff and use it for men too, because I think that there's a misconception that it only works for women, and it's just, I think we touched on that in the workshop a little bit. It's just not true. So
Yeah.
that was something that was really powerful, to be able to take someone who's been doing this for a long time and kind of strip them down, what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
literally, clothing wise, but also, emotionally. That was a really powerful experience for both of us.
That's
So,
awesome. We're
yeah.
actually in this iteration of strip down. We have an entire lesson on shooting men. So we have one on.
Yes.
I know, right?
I
I
kind of
love
want to take it
shooting men.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have another one coming up in late spring, and there's going to be a big
Yes.
course on the big lesson in shooting men.
Love
Um,
it.
so obviously we know like our client experience has changed, but what do you think the biggest change for you is in the way that you work with your clients now as opposed to before strip down, or how they respond to it?
I think that it's given me um permission to be a lot more vulnerable with my clients, in a way, like, I guess I thought I was being kind of vulnerable, just sharing some little things to kind of even the playing field and feel like we're on the same level. But I think it's definitely given me the space to be really vulnerable, to hear them in a way that I didn't really before, because I knew how much more important what I was going to do for them was. Like,
Yeah.
we had talked about I had mentioned this the other night in the Q&A, um, the difference between objectifying and empowering. And now I know how sacred my job is. And so it's given me permission to be a lot more vulnerable, a lot more open, and also just like it's given me a lot more confidence because being that vulnerable, even just in our pre-session talk and then in the session itself during the coaching is really difficult. And the more you do it, it just like it brings this whole other level of confidence, which like you said, sharks can smell blood in the water. Like, I don't have to worry about feeling silly or anything like that. Like all those fears are gone because they trust me, and they trust me because of that pre-session talk and my vulnerability. I mean, every single piece of it just stacks on top of itself to just create this incredibly transcendent experience for me and for them. I
Yeah.
don't know if I answered your question. I kind of went on a tangent.
That's okay. That's okay. I think you said a couple of things that we kind of need to unpack. I think that the industry, and I might get myself into some trouble here. I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to be Denise doing Denise stuff as usual. I think the industry, like as a whole, we talk about boudoir photography as empowerment, but what does that, like, I've always been like, well, what does that even mean? Like, how is taking a picture of someone's ass empowering them? Aren't we just kind of going along with the culture of objectification?
Yeah.
Boudoir photographers, please don't get mad at me. There is another way to do this. And I know that no one intends to set out to like objectify or go along with social norms. We're all doing this, like we talked about in the beginning. That was a great opening. We're all doing this because we want to make a difference. But are we truly?
Right.
Are we truly making that difference?
You
And
said that in the in-person workshop, and you kind of said it the way you're saying it now, like that you might ruffle some feathers or whatever. But yeah, it may be hard to hear as someone who like wants to be that person empowering, but it was important to hear because it does feel very different now from how it used to feel, and it is digging a lot deeper into who these women are. Like on at their very deepest, most vulnerable level, and that's the only way you're going to empower them to own who they are, their confidence, their vulnerability, their pleasure, their joy, all of it, by creating this space for them to just own who they are. You
yeah,
don't do
so
that by just saying this is the good pose for your body type. It's not the same thing.
no, it's really not. And we joke a lot of times, like with my boudoir photography, my team and we joke, like, is this even boudoir photography? The way that I shoot
Yeah.
it. And we've like kind of coined it like emotive boudoir photography because there's always like, it's kind of a lot of clothes in my work. And there's usually not a whole lot of full body shots. And yeah, okay, I go in and I get some of the details and stuff, but that's just like, those are the minor things. It's like, our clients never have the opportunity to see themselves the way that the rest of the world sees them.
Yeah.
Whenever they pass a mirror or a reflective surface, they generally show themselves like a perception of who they think they are supposed to be, or who they are, who they need to be. I know that I do. I know that all of us do
Yeah.
this. But there's so much more to us, and it's not just the physicality of us that makes us beautiful. As a matter of fact, that's kind of like the least of what makes us so magnificent. It's all of the gorgeous things
Yeah.
that are inside of us, and it's all of the things that I got to experience with you when we were in person. I got to see you being joyful. I got to see you being confident. I got to see you being experiencing longing. I got to see you experiencing being vulnerable. I got to see all of these beautiful things, these magnificent things that are inside of you, your person,
Yeah.
right? The things that are so awe-inspiring about humanity,
Yeah.
and being able to get in touch with those things yourself by using the methodology, and then guide and coach your clients to let go of the shame around female, sensuality, sexuality, our bodies. Because like in one breath, we're told like, your beauty is your currency. And in the
Yeah.
same breath, we're told, be ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Like your sexuality, your femininity, that's your currency, but you better be ashamed of it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
We're
So we've,
constantly told to live in these opposing forces of like,
yeah. And
yeah.
so with the methodology, we learn like all that, none of this is true. We learn how to let go of all of that ourselves so that we can then bring it in for our clients. But if you are not confident in doing it, so this goes back to your shark comment. If you are not confident in doing this, if you don't understand body language, if you don't understand the neuroscience behind it, if you don't have this methodology to back you up, because of mirror neurons, because of mirroring, as soon as you get uncomfortable, as soon as you're like, I
Yeah.
want you to go ahead and like pull at this and then maybe like pull your head back and breathe. Like your client's gonna be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And they're not going to feel the, okay, I want you to take a big deep breath with me.
Yeah.
I want you to drop that chin down and come around. And I want you to look at me like, something, I don't know. And then you get that really beautiful, incredible emotive image because just like Erika just did, her mirror neurons are like firing with mine because that's how humans work. There's just so much science behind this method. It's not even funny, but we have to be confident in ourselves because if I were to be like, okay, Erika, let's take a big deep breath together. Put your chin down and like bring your finger here and like smile with me. It's just really uncomfortable. And then we put our clients in a space where they're feeling like, oh, so it's like when we are not real confident what we're doing, they're like sharks. They can smell the blood in the water.
Yeah.
And they're going to feel exactly the way that we're feeling during their session. So really switching it all around onto ourselves and taking full responsibility, like radical responsibility for the type of images that we're creating, the type of experience that we're creating, taking radical responsibility for the fact that as an artist, as a boudoir photographer, it is absolutely unequivocally not our job, not our client's job to like create a good session. It is ours. It is 100% ours. They don't know what they're doing. They're scared. They're fearful. They're trying to be brave, but they don't know. And without someone to lead them, they're in trouble. And the photography industry in general, we don't teach this. I mean, I've had so many of you guys come through class who are like, I have my bachelor's in fine art. I went to school for photography. No one ever talked about this. No one ever taught this. This was never part of my education. It's just not part of education. And I think it's one of the most integral things compared to other courses, classes, things you've learned. Like, where would you rank this in terms of importance?
Oh, this is the most important. I haven't done I've done some, not a ton. This was but like to the point that I can't even remember other ones I've done because this was so important. Like the only other one that's important is like IPS, but not it's like here.
Yeah.
IPS here. Because this doesn't matter if this isn't here.
So that's another really interesting thing. There's a big trend within the industry that it doesn't matter. Just buy whatever kind of camera, get a kit lens, get your pricing guide, get it in line, and have a 10 poses and start selling $2,000 a package, right? I don't teach business, right? That's not my thing. I teach the art of this. I teach you how to be a master at creating beautiful imagery and experiences. To be an entrepreneur, there is work that needs to go into it, and you do need to know how to run a business, and all of these things are important. And there are some really good classes out there for photographers that teach you how to run a business and teach you how to do, your in-person sales and help you structure your pricing and all of that. But to me, it seems so incredibly short-sighted and so unfair to our clients to actually go in there and not understand the depth and the breadth of
Yeah.
what we're actually doing, and then
Yeah.
go charge $2, $3, $4,000 for work that maybe we shouldn't be doing yet because we don't fully understand
We're
our
asking a lot of our
responsibility.
clients to
Yeah.
be vulnerable with us. So if we're not careful like calculated in a way
Yeah.
to create these experiences, like we're just doing them a disservice and then charging them for it, you
Yeah.
know. And
I mean,
it's not, and I know, like, like you said, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but there is a huge difference between how I feel about the experiences I create for my clients now versus what I did. To the point that I like want to call like old clients that I photographed before I even started working for Mike and be like, listen, can you just like, can
come
we just
back.
make a redo? Like,
I want to show you, I want to show you a different way. Let's do it a different way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm all for everybody thriving financially. Like that's
yeah,
amazing. But we do have such an incredible and sacred responsibility when we decide to shoot in this genre, because we are
yep,
dealing with the most delicate parts of people's psyches. And it's
yes,
not something to be treated lightly. It
yeah,
really isn't.
yeah,
And I think for us too, it's incredibly important. We need to feel good
yeah,
about what it is we're doing. We need to get rid of that whole like comparing ourselves to other people's work. That whole imposter syndrome thing, everybody talks about, it's a real thing, right? But you should push it to the side. I'm a very firm believer that that imposter syndrome is a deep intuition about you knowing there is a missing link in your knowledge, right? There's something in your knowledge that needs to be leveled up.
yeah,
And I think that's why so many boudoir photographers talk about imposter syndrome and feeling like they're not good enough, because they have this deeper intuition that there's a hole in their knowledge that needs to be filled up.
yeah.
So with that being said, what was it in your work that you felt was missing, that you wanted to like level up? Where was your imposter syndrome kind of moment or feeling?
I mean, it still comes back to bridging that gap. I can have really incredible, like I'm a very empathetic person. I have lots of trauma in my past that has made me a very loving person. Like I'm like, I owe a lot of the safety I can create for people in my space to the trauma that I've experienced, you know. Um I so I'm good at making people feel loved and making people feel seen and heard and safe. But I I do all that. I do all this groundwork, all this, foundational building so that people feel safe to, you know, strip it down, whether it's clothing wise or, more otherwise, like, vulnerability wise. And then everything felt kind of mechanical in a way. Um, and I don't think I realized it at the time. I know that I would feel a little bit like I was tripping over myself, like thinking about what's going to happen next so that they don't feel any hesitation in the session. It was almost like it was more important for me to seem like I knew what I was doing than it was to like really hone in on them and what they're feeling and how they're emoting and what their experience is like. And once I realized that there was a way to do this that got rid of I'm not constantly planning my next move, that I'm very, very in tune to what's happening in front of me and being mindful and careful and taking my time with it because they're feeling a certain way, whatever emotion it is that we're playing with at that moment. Like that, I didn't even realize how big of a gap there was until it wasn't there anymore.
So
Um,
let's take the focus off the clients for a second.
yeah.
Like for you personally, going through a session now, like has it relieved some of the anxiety?
Oh,
Like, are you not?
absolutely.
Because I know that
I
a lot of us feel like, oh, all of this pressure, all of this stress, like, oh my God, what next? What pose? Like, where do I go?
Yeah.
What do I do? And like, did I get enough images? And are they going to like them? And all that stuff that
That
I've heard you
anxiety
guys
is
talk about.
gone. It's gone. It's not even like, and so that's like, that was definitely my experience before strip down is, worrying about being as creative as possible or worrying about looking like I know what I'm doing. Cause I was new at it and, we were all new at it at one point. So it's like, wondering how I'm being viewed, worrying about how they feel during it. It's just all that stuff is gone, and the whole imposter syndrome thing is gone because I don't really look at other people's work and worry that I'm not doing something because I know deep in my heart that everything that I'm doing is serving that person in exactly who they are in that moment, and it changes per person what they need and what they need to get out of it. It's
Amen.
so it's like all that stuff is gone because I can't be that person on that Instagram and try to copy them and still perform and give everything that I'm giving to the clients now.
Yeah.
So that those feelings are gone. They're not there. There's a lot more confidence than I think I've ever had, like in photographing anything. Like I'm really great at photographing kids, and I have way more confidence in photographing boudoir than families, and I'm really good at photographing families. So
Have
it's
you moved some of the strip down skills to like shooting families as well? Like, do you find yourself using the methodology when you're coaching and directing families now also?
yeah, a little. It's very different, but
Yeah.
it's very much about like connecting to what's happening. Like I did, oh my God, it was so beautiful. I did a mom and her son on Saturday. And our conversation was incredible on the phone because she's going through a divorce and her son is her world, and she just wants him to remember that as he gets older because her time with him is a little 9-year-old boy is so limited. And so it wasn't about getting them just like perfectly looking at the camera and then looking at each other and then foreheads to like they were like snuggling up on the couch and holding each other's hands and just like looking into each other. Like the pictures of him just staring into his mom's eyes are just like
Yeah.
just so, and so even if it's not necessarily the same type of coaching, like I'm not coaching for pleasure and desire at that,
Right. Yeah.
it's still teaching me to hone in on a moment and what emotions are going on with mom and with her son in that moment, and also giving them space to just be. Sometimes it's not even about the coaching. Sometimes it's about me just giving them some space to just be, and I'm
Yeah.
just quiet and I just let it flow, where I wouldn't necessarily have had that quiet awareness before strip down. I would have felt like I'm supposed to be talking right now.
Yeah.
And that's where it's helped me with families in particular, is having that quiet awareness sometimes to just let things be when you've set up this beautiful moment that's going to mean a lot to them when they see their photos.
Yeah, that's awesome. Strip down was actually born in wedding photography. It was not
Yeah.
meant, I mean, well, I can't say it wasn't meant, but that's how it evolved, was through wedding photography, because I was primarily a wedding photographer. And so for me, even more so in that genre than boudoir, being able to guide and coach your clients, because we're not talking about just one person, right? We're talking about the way that a couple is interacting and all of the different emotions that they experience together, and actually capturing those emotive states for them and not just canned pretty pictures. And then how the bride interacts with her mom, and the way that dad feels about his daughter, and the way mom feels about her son, and the way that he's interacting with his best friends, and the way that she's interacting with her grandmother. Like there's like, whoa, there's like so much beautiful, rich, deep, gorgeous emotion
Yeah.
and all of that. But what happens is when our clients get in front of a camera, they go,
Mhm.
they stop breathing, their shoulders go up, and they're like, what do I do with my hands? Like how often? how often prior to strip down did you hear that?
I don't get that question anymore.
Right. We never hear that question
Yeah.
anymore. But I mean, I've seen it so many times when I started shooting and I like did seconding for other photographers. They'd be like, what do I do? And they'd be like, well, just, stand there and like love each other. And I'm like, even then I was like,
What does that
what
mean?
are you talking about? Like, look at all of this stuff we can bring together. They're just too scared. We need to do it for them. It's like, we're in when working as consumer photographers, which is what we're working as. We're photographers for consumers, whether it be for weddings, whether it be for beauty portraits, whether it be for boudoir photography. We're dealing with people who get in front of a camera and go, oh shit, right? That's what they do when they get in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Take the camera away and let them interact naturally. And they're human. Their body language is beautiful. They interact beautifully. The stories that you see as things are happening. But none of us want to be in that place where we hope we catch one of those moments.
Yeah.
We need to be able to work with precision and intention and guide and direct them. So models model. They know how to do this. So a commercial photographer, editorial photographer, fashion photographer, they have someone in front of their camera who's doing it for them. They just need to get the lighting right. They need to get the composition right. And they usually have an art director on set who's like managing the aesthetics of it, right? So I'm not going to say it's just clicking a button, but they don't have to do that directing because there is someone who is doing it, right? We don't have that privilege as consumer photographers. We don't have the person who comes in front of our camera and is like, what do you want this to feel like? And then makes it feel however, we want it to feel. We have to, with our clients, let me show you all of the beautiful things that I see. Let go, trust me, I got you. Here's how we're going to do it. And then you use your foundational skills and tools to make all of that beautiful stuff happen. So it really does work like cross genre, but I digress because we are talking about boudoir photography. I just get so excited when I love using it in weddings and with like mom and his son and that story, mom going through a divorce and her time with her son, with him being that age and maybe custody and stuff like that, and being able to capture that love and that adoration and all the different nuances of that emotional relationship. When we come at it without the skills from Strip Down, we're just like, okay, pose.
I've never
pose,
had a little boy cry, whispered in his mom's ear and say, I love them all. He cried.
Oh.
So it wasn't even that I touched mom's heart. It was a 9-year-old boy. And that was really special. I mean, I was crying. I was like sitting here like, oh my God. It was incredible.
That's amazing. Okay. So you talked about in-person sales, how you've taken classes for in-person sales and how that's incredibly important. IPS is important. Yeah. Selling is important. Making money is important. We should all be making money. We should be so good at this and providing such amazing experiences that we should be making damn good money. We deserve to. We work hard for this. How have your sales changed? And that's not something we usually talk about when we talk about Strip Down, because we're always so focused on how transformative it is in your skills. But once you transform your skills, what's happening to your sales now?
Oh, it's really, really difficult for clients to turn images down because they see, like you said, they see the things that everyone else says that they see, that they don't really have a chance to see themselves. Like I say a lot in my pre-session talk, like we're not walking around with mirrors in front of us all the time. Like you don't get to see your face when someone's like, oh, you look so good today. And you're like, thank you. You know what I mean? Like you don't get to see that face, or like, if someone's like, looking at you from across the room, you just kind of play with your hair just like a little bit, you're not doing that in front of the mirror. You don't get to see all that stuff. And so like, it makes it really hard for for the clients to choose a certain amount of images if they have like a budget. Budgets are they can change. They do change a lot when people are so emotionally connected to their images that they're like, I couldn't bear to not see this again because I feel this so deeply that I had no idea that like I could feel this emotionally connected to a photograph of myself. Because when do we have permission to look at a photo of ourselves and be like, holy shit, I'm a powerful bad bitch? Like,
Yeah.
how often do we have the permission to say that about ourselves? And like,
Yeah.
that's what I get to do. I get to create this space where you can like fucking stand up and be like, I'm amazing, I'm hot, I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I can do anything that I set my mind to and conquer anything that comes my way. And it makes it really hard for people to walk away without some of their images. So
have you seen sales go up since then?
absolutely 100%. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
it's been, you know, it's been incredibly rewarding to see, you know, I don't want to create, you know, it's like, it's weird because it's like, I don't want to create this like, feeling like I don't want to let go of anything. But at the same time, that
You
means that I
want to
did a
create
really
that.
amazing job. Yeah.
Yeah.
That means that I exceeded their expectations, because even though they feel that, people do sometimes come to see the images. And, you know, it all happens the same day. They see their images the same day. They come up here, we pull the projector down, and they're like, I'm so nervous. I'm so scared that I'm not going to like them, because they know how they felt. And they're like, well, I don't know what that looks like. And then they're like, holy shit, that's what I look like when I feel that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, sales have definitely gone up. People have invested more in wall art than I've ever seen before. Like a lot of times people will like to keep these a little more private and do an album. And then, but even more so now, people are like, I can't not have that on my wall. I can put these in an album, yes, but I can't not see that hanging above my dresser every day. I need to start my day with that energy. And that's, I mean, the biggest compliment I could ever ask for.
Yeah. And I think it is one of the greatest gifts
Yeah.
that we can give our clients. I mean, it truly is.
And as an artist, it's the biggest compliment to, like, you know, way before IPS, like long ago. And I would just be like, here's all your files. You paid me some pennies and here's everything. And, you know, and then I never see anything happen. Like I follow them online. They don't post anything. They don't even order from Shutterfly and all that garbage. It's like, well, what did I do all that work for? And now, building this kind of experience on top of IPS, which yes is important, but this is just like, it takes everything to a whole other level. And it does create that little bit of uncomfortable, like, I don't know what to do here because I want all of them. Like, how am I supposed to not see all of these pictures every day?
Yeah. I joke all the time, like the majority of my sales are like, they buy all the images and like the joke is I make it so they can't leave without them. Like no one's leaving without all their images. That ain't gonna happen. Like I'm gonna create stuff that they cannot live without. They have to take it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they do get in there and they're like, okay, I'm gonna pick 20 images. And then they're like, okay, I'll take all 160. I don't know about you. I don't know how many you're showing now.
Not that many.
But you know the way that I shoot, like I go bananas, right? So all the emotions, and they're like, I can't pick. And I'm like, beautiful. I'm glad that you can't. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so one final question for you. Like I said earlier, it's hard for me to articulate to people like the fullness of this course and what it does. What would you tell your peers within the industry about this course and if it's something that they should invest in or not? I think a lot of people look at the price tag of $2,700 and they're like, that's a lot of money. And I look at that price tag of $2,700 for strip down and I'm like, God, I need to like triple that price. Like I really need to like
so quickly, like 10 times over pays for itself. Like that's nothing compared to the value that you get from from the information. Well, first, I'm sure everyone else says it. The amount of time that you invest in your students is unbelievable. Like, I almost want to tell you to tone it down so you have some time for yourself, but I know you're not going to. So I just feel like I'd be talking to a wall. But you know,
Well, I get
that,
really emotionally
oh,
invested
I
in
know.
your guys's, like, I need you guys to flourish. I'm not teaching, just like in studio, when you're with client, you want to give them everything. When I'm with you guys, like, I really just want to give you everything. I'm so personally and emotionally invested in you guys thriving.
And I feel
Um,
that. I felt it from your videos in the online class alone, and then in person. It's, so if I don't really know the audience that's watching right now, if they're students or they're considering it, or,
I
but
think we probably have a little bit of both, maybe some
yeah,
alumni who are
I
thinking
mean,
about in person.
alumni, I want to take it again. I want to do it again. I want to be a master's student. That's like my goal. I want to be, you know, the best at it. I'm not going to be the best, but that's you. But, um,
Oh, no,
yeah,
I think many of us can share that title. I don't think it's a just me kind of thing, because we all make it our own, right? It's just how
yeah.
well we execute it. But for students who've never heard about strip down, or students who don't know, like, how much mentoring, like one-on-one mentoring, goes
It's
on
a
within
lot.
the class and all of that kind of stuff, or
Yeah.
how much it's going to change their work, what would you tell them? Why should they, not if they should take it. We all know they should take it. There are no, like, questions about that, but why should they take it?
It's so the best way I can describe the reason to take it is, I mean, we're artists. Like, that's what we're doing. Like you said, everyone has their why, even if their why up here is money, and then it's, we're still artists at the heart of it, and artists who primarily focus on people. I mean, like, there's a reason for that, and the reason could be a multitude of things. I know mine is, I love people. I think that people are fascinating. I find the richness and emotions of different people, and people's experiences, and how they shape who they are, and how they speak about themselves, how they speak about other people. I find it all fascinating and beautiful, and I feel like everybody has like a beautiful story to tell, and I enjoy digging for it. And I can dig and dig and dig and have the most incredible human being in front of me. But if I don't know how to pull all of that out to create these beautiful photographs, if I can't coach them in a way that they feel comfortable, like opening themselves up to me, because at the end of the day, those things don't automatically bridge themselves. You can have the most incredible conversation, and you pick up a camera, and just like you said, they're like, I don't know what to do. What do I do with my hands? Where do I stand? What do I do? Like, should I have my hair over here? All Everything that you mine for in the richness of a person goes right out the window if you're not bridging the emotional conversations you have with the emotive coaching that you learn with strip down. So if you're like, it's not even if, like, you're photographing people, you're passionate about people, you're an artist, like, there's no way you're not going to appreciate the art of this
Yeah.
methodology. Like, there, like, as an artist, you're not going to not appreciate it. You're not going to get nothing out of it. Like, I don't, I feel like I'm rambling, because I feel like there's so much to say about it that I like can't even put it into words. Like,
Well,
it
here, let me ramble a couple of things, and you let me know if you agree or not. If you're primarily focused on being an entrepreneur who's making good money, making great money, um, by shooting boudoir photography, taking the strip down methodology is going to make you stand out above everybody else around you and take your work to a level that is going to increase your sales, probably more than anything else you
you
can do.
probably get to work smarter instead of harder.
Yeah. And I truly believe, like, if you have your foundation of running a business down, you take this, like, there's nothing you can do that's going to increase your sales more than
No,
this. So
no.
if you're financially driven and you have a structure, this is the class for you to make more money.
Yeah, they sell
If you're,
themselves already.
yeah, if you're feeling imposter syndrome and you're nervous and you're uncomfortable and you're anxious, this is absolutely the most important class for you
Boost
to
your
take.
confidence, 100%.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you are doing this because you want to create a truly empowering experience for people, this is the most important class that you can take.
100%.
If you're
Yeah,
doing
without a
this
doubt.
because you want to be proud of your work and you really want to step into your creativity and authenticity as an artist, this is a class you should take.
Yeah.
Like,
Not should, have to. You have to.
yeah, this is just the class you should take.
Yeah. If
Period.
there, yeah, like you said it, if there's no other class I can think that is more important if you have a person on the other side of your camera.
Yeah. Yeah. If we
Because
have a
we have a sacred
responsibility.
responsibility, boudoir or not. We have a sacred responsibility to honor the people that are paying us to create these beautiful photographs, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a family portrait, or if it's boudoir. Like they're trusting us with a vulnerable part of themselves, whether they're undressed or not.
Yeah. And
And
when we do this, when our why becomes backed by our ability to really fully deliver that why, then everything else falls into place, right? The feeling confident, the making more money, the standing out, the not struggling with the imposter syndrome, all of it quells and we become this authentic, beautiful version of ourselves that's able to then
yeah,
offer that to other people and get that from them and allow them to experience as well. It's like a full circle kind
you're
of
not going to
thing.
not benefit from something that forces you to honor your most authentic vulnerable self. Like
Yeah.
there's no way that you're not going to get all these beautiful things that come out of that. It's just like when you take care of yourself, you're able to take care of others. It's like all that stuff radiates outward. This is like it is like it is like almost a form of therapy, but it's under the guise of of photographing,
Right.
people. Like it's really like
My
if you're
true
honoring
intention, yeah, my true intention with it was to really up level everyone's skills and abilities to coach and direct and
yeah,
not be in that space of like, "Ugh," right? I wanted to give everybody tools. But as it has flourished, it's not even me, as this methodology has flourished through all of the iterations, like, dude, we have three legit therapists who are in this iteration of Strip Down, who are like, this is like full on straight up therapy.
yeah,
Like, I feel like I'm actually going through it with you. And I
yeah.
think that that's a real common thing that we hear from our students. So
Honestly,
I
the name
want,
of it couldn't be more perfect because it
aw,
really is. Like it's perfect. It's a perfectly named course for every reason that we've talked about for the last like hour.
yeah.
It's yeah. Because
Well,
it's you're stripping yourself down to this incredibly vulnerable, beautiful, authentic version of yourself where you don't have to worry about being someone else or being better than someone else. You just get to be you and create art and make people feel amazing.
yeah. And make money
And that too.
and feel good about doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a perfect world, right?
Yeah.
I want you to know how incredibly grateful I am for you as a student. You were amazing in the online class. You were a force of nature in the in-person class. You were phenomenal. And watching your growth and your transformation has been so incredibly rewarding and fulfilling for me. We know one of my biggest whys in this is my mama. And ugh, sorry, I know the tears are coming. So I'm like,
You tell us not to cry, or I mean not to apologize for crying. So
yeah.
you
So you allowing me to be part of this journey with you and you accepting what I have to offer and then sharing it with the world was the thing that she asked me to do as she was dying. Like that was her thing that she wanted me to do. So I am so incredibly grateful and so immensely humbled that you've given me that opportunity and that you've trusted me and that you let go and you allowed it to work, that you allowed yourself to grow and flourish through this and truly make that kind of difference. And with every session, make the world just a little bit more of a beautiful place. Like, more, sweetheart. Thank you so much for letting me do this thing that I was meant to do, and my mama told me I had to do to keep her with me. And so I'm really grateful. Thank you for giving that gift to me and to all of the people that you work with, and not just making it about their ass or how good their tits look, or about really making the world and their lives more beautiful. Like, the work you're doing is important. You are incredibly brave. You are beautiful, and you are so richly talented. And I'm really proud of you, and I'm really grateful for you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
I will never stop being grateful for you being willing to share this incredible gift of yours with everybody else. I mean, it takes a lot of strength and vulnerability to do what you do as well, because you have to be very, very seen in order to do it. That's not always easy.
It is not always easy, but it's my path, and it's what I do. And it fills me. It feels, I appreciate you too. I wish you were here so we could get another picture like we got together last time. I look at it all the time, all the time. It is one of my favorite photos. Like, I should probably put it up in the group. Maybe I'll put it up in the group today. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I love that photo so much. Okay, I want to thank you for your time. I'm going to let you go because I know you need to get to work. You've got beautiful people to take care of.
We've got what we're doing, because it's 2/22/22, and it's the day of manifestation. There's a portal of manifestation open today, so I'm gonna go live in our Facebook at 2/22 and just do some affirmations and stuff for our clients.
That sounds amazing. You go make the world a more beautiful place. Everybody who's been on here watching, thank you so much. I'm sure if you have questions, you can hit Erika up. If you have any questions about Strip Down, just send her a DM. And everybody, go make the world a more beautiful place today, just in little ways. It's just one foot in front of the other, right? We get to make the world a more beautiful place. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and I will see you guys soon. I love you, sweetheart. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody. Love you.
Bye.